talk to me about young Andrew before you became literally the most viral person on earth. Talk to me, what was young Andrew, where did he grow up, and where did the formation for this ambition really begin for you as a kid?
Yeah, that's a good question. I was born in DC, and then we moved to Indiana. We lived just outside of Gary, Indiana. And my father was a professional chess player, and I understood I had to work hard and I had a duty to my last name. And from as young as I can remember, I was told, no, you have to be exceptional because your last name is Tate. It was very clear to me. It was never any other type of life that was laid out for me. I never expected to have any other easy life or never expected to have a normal life. My mother and father broke up when I was 10. We moved to England.
How did that affect you?
Yeah, I think that's probably one of the reasons. If I had to self-analyze, when I moved from America to England, obviously you start all over again. You go to a new school, you have to make new friends. And back then, I don't know how long ago that was, 20-something years, whatever. If you're American in England, it was slightly more unusual. And the kids would make fun of your accent or whatever, and you have to learn to stick up for yourself. You have to learn to fight and to be brave. And if I had to be a psychotherapist, if I believed in these things and had to analyze my past as to why I am the way I am, I think the fact that at a fairly young age, I was ostracized and forced to defend myself and forced to stick up for myself and was happy to have a different point of view because I knew nobody could pick on me. That probably has something to do with the reason I am the person I am, if I had to analyze it. So, you got me thinking now, maybe that's a good thing. Maybe I need to take all my kids and pluck them and just drag them out of school and drop them in Mongolia somewhere. And see how that...
Was it something like a series of events? Because I can relate to that, where you feel like an outcast, you don't quite feel at home here, you don't quite feel at home with this group, so it teaches you to kind of stick up for yourself and fight for yourself.
I think it was just my brother and I. We turned up, everyone said, haha, you're weird American kids. We said, yeah, we are, say something to our face, and they wouldn't. And that was it, and it just became us two.
Against the world.
Against the world. And I don't think changed. Not much has changed. And I think that's the way it's supposed to be. It's very interesting when you understand the brutal dynamics of humanity and also the brutal dynamics of opinions in general. But unless you're prepared to defend your opinion, usually physically, especially outside of the internet world, you don't have an opinion at all. If you can't defend your ideas, if someone comes to you and says, I disagree with you, and you're afraid of that person, well, then you're not going to have any ideas different than what the Matrix wants you to hold. It takes a lot of bravery to stand up and say, I don't care, I know I'm right, despite the fact that the whole group or society or the consensus is saying this, because you're going to pay for that at some point. I know we live in a world now where physical confrontation and physical violence alone is not enough, but I still think it's intrinsic inside of the human condition. When you know that you are capable in that realm, you're more likely to stand up against the system. But you can't have an opinion if you don't defend it. If you can't defend it, if a guy comes up to you and says 2 + 2 is 5, and he can beat the shit out of you, I mean, maybe you'll end up a bloody pulp, or maybe you'll give up sooner, but sooner or later, 2 + 2 is going to equal 5. That's the reality of the world. So
if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely, yeah. So I think, just to talk about the childhood thing, I understood from a young age I had to stick up for myself and defend my ideas, and my ideas were always different, and I was always an outcast, I guess, to a degree, and that certainly played a part later on in my life, because it's been very easy for me to look at the programming the Matrix is trying to push down my throat and just say no.
Did you discuss a lot of philosophy with your dad growing up? Was he a confidant in that way? I know he's a chess master, but was he somebody you pitch and catch with, or was it mostly you and your brother that kind of pitch and catched a lot of these things early on?
My dad had his own philosophies. I don't think, we definitely never read any philosophical books. We didn't study any old philosophers, but he'd say things now, which you can even still see his Twitter. If you want to see a philosopher, you can go through his Twitter now and see all of the things he was saying when he was still alive.
Yeah.
But I think life is actually pretty simple. There's action and reaction, there's cause and effect. There's brave people and there's cowards. A lot of people are self-interested. And if you understand the basis of these motivations, it's not difficult to work out why the world functions the way it does. And cause and effect and action and reaction are very real. And I think one of the largest plagues we have in the world today is a lack of action amongst people. And deciding not to act is an action in and of itself, right? And that's the only philosophy you need for life. If you want something to move, you have to move it. If you sit and wait for somebody else to move it, you're a coward. And you're just hoping it's going to happen.
Period, absolutely.
And that's why I don't understand when a lot of people who see where the world is going and see the future that's going to be laid out for their children kind of just hope and pray when they really need to be taking a more active role, even if it's as simple as discussing every subject with anyone who will listen and try to
open their mind.
Open minds, correct, yeah.
Now, real quick, I want to touch base one more time. The young Andrew Tate, when he was coming up and having these sorts of thoughts, what were you like as you got into your teens? Were you a ladies' man? Did you have a girl break your heart, that first one? I'm sure the stories are famous.
Everyone's had their heart broken by a girl, haven't they?